What's going on, people? It's GBP baby. Welcome to our weekly review and expectations. It's currently 3:33 p.m. on Sunday the 11th of June 2023. So we're going to start with GBP, of course. As you can see, this week we traded aggressively into this bearish order block. So now I'm expecting some kind of reaction around here. I'd like to see that happen next week. You can see how we pushed through these relative equal highs, rested here as well. So we've clearly taken out some kind of sell side liquidity and traded into a bearish order block. So these are both reasons why I'd like to see some lower prices on GBP. We'll drop down to a low time frame and we can see what we can find. So I've already marked out some things on this time frame. You'll see that I've marked out a rejection block here, so I'll just add that. Now, what makes this a rejection block? I'll show you now. So we can see that this candle here, when this candle traded into this wick, you can see our price rejected away from it. That means that this whole candle here should act as a bearish rejection block, meaning that if we do reach this, we can expect a bearish reaction. That is assuming we are going to trade deep. If we are to trade deeper into this weekly order block. So I am going to leave that resting like there because realistically that should be our next target. We traded into the breaker. We have the opening of the order blocks here, of the bearish order block here, and then we've got the rejection block resting just above it. So these are the targets I see that price is going to likely draw to on the daily chart. So I'll say that again, we've drawn to the breaker as I called out on Thursday. And now our next target would probably be the opening of the order block and the rejection block itself before we want to see a turnaround. So I'll drop down to the 4-hour. And then you'll see how as soon as we traded into the breaker, which is this red box delineated from this candle here. Let me make that more clear. So as soon as we traded into the breaker, we can see that price turned away from it, and that's exactly what I expected. So on Thursday, I was saying that this is likely its next draw, but you can see that we closed on a down candle on the 4-hour, and it's likely that we are going to return back into this order block resting here. So I'm going to mark that out. If we are to trade higher, this should then act as support. So this whole order block resting here, I want to see that provide support for higher prices if we are to trade deeper into this range and again into the rejection block, as I pointed out. You'll also notice that this rejection block is actually lined up perfectly with the opening of the daily bearish order block. So that's another reason I'd expect price for a trade off here. There's a bearish order block here, and that black line resting above is our rejection block. So that's another confluence as to why price is likely to want to draw to this level before turning around and heading lower. But yeah, I'd like to see this area act as support for us to want to trade deeper into this area here. I've also marked out this daily fair value gap here as well. You see that we left that as we traded through this. So as we traded through this down candle, price left this fair value gap, again pointing to higher prices and the likelihood to us to want to draw into the rejection block. As I said, this should continue to act as support so long as we're bullish. So if price does say come back down here, we want to see this provide support if we are to have higher prices. Other than that, it should give way and allow us to start running into these lows here if we're going to see lower prices. Again, the markets as they are now, we are very consolidated. I've been saying this all week. We have FOMC next week, so there's a lot of different reasons as to why probability is not really in our favor right now in terms of understanding drawn liquidity, because it is possible we could easily expand higher and take out these highs here, because on the monthly there is this massive monthly fair value gap resting here. So it's completely possible that we will just push higher and run into here. But at the same time, depending on interest rates and all the news and everything, there's still potential for us to turn around. Also, there is a deviation in GBP, USD, Euro, USD and dollar, but I'll show that towards the end of the video. So I'll drop back down to our 4 hour, and you can see how this week we Monday, Tuesday was quite consolidated, and then Wednesday we traded aggressively higher back into this order block, and then Thursday we started to push up. As we pushed up on Friday, we came down and kissed this goodbye, and then we traded higher again. So you can see our price found support at this bearish turn bullish order block. So this would be considered a inverted order block, I like to call them. ICT hasn't actually named it that, but based off his inverted fair value gap, it's acting in a similar way, in that it was a bearish order block, but now it's a bullish order block because we found support here. So again, this is another area. You can see our price is stacking itself. So this is why I see this daily fair value gap. I'll make sure I'll mark that as daily FVG. So now I see that this is protecting this daily fair value gap. So I don't see reason for price to want to come down into this fair value gap until traded higher and deeper towards a rejection block, because that at the end of the day appears to be what the price is targeting. And you can see how it's positioned right on top of the fair value gap. So it's almost like a defense mechanism for the algorithm. So anytime price returns down here, I'd expect to see some kind of bullish reaction. So here's the hourly. You can see that we kind of consolidated, dropped down, touched it, and then left, hit the target, and now we're consolidated again. Obviously, Sunday hasn't started trading yet, and I do not trade Mondays. So again, as I say every week, I'll wait for Monday's trading to be done before I can give a much more clear analysis on what I think is likely to happen for the week. But I do want to. I have got my eyes definitely on this rejection block and us trading deeper into this area. However, I am going to compare this with the Euro USD and the dollar index, because you'll notice that as pound was going higher, you'll see how euros made lower lows. So euro started to fall lower, dollars started to move higher, and we see this all the time happening in the markets, especially recently. But there is a lot of political. How do I say this? There's lots of political drivers that are going on in the UK right now, in general. To be honest, in terms of our prime ministers and a lot of news in general. So that could be a reason as to why we're seeing such price action. But anyway, I'll continue saying what I was saying. So yeah, as euro moved lower, pound actually moved higher. Here you go. So you can see that we've made a higher high, whilst euros made a lower low, and Dixie's made a higher low. Wait, I'll say that again. Pounds made a higher high, euros made a lower high, and dollars made a higher low. So I would expect us to want to catch up with euro and dollar as per usual, aggressively too. But although we're moving higher and euros moved lower, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to move straight. It doesn't mean that we're going to move down straight away, which is why I think there's still potential for us to want to wander into here. I do see it being quite a resistive zone, especially because you can see how much back and forth trading was happening here. So if price is going to reach up into that rejection block, it's probably going to have a hard time getting there. However, once it reaches up there, I'd like to see an aggressive reaction lower, because again, as we just saw, it needs to catch up with dollar and euro in general. But yeah, it's crazy because for a while I have been expecting lower prices in pound, which is, again, my bias is sticking pretty strong with that. Seasonal tendencies have a lot to do with that. Also, my expectation for dollar to move higher hasn't exactly changed, because although we traded aggressively lower last week, this is dollar now, we traded into this bullish order block. You can see that we've turned away from it. So if price finds support, I've got this red box delineating a fair value gap, and you'll notice how we wicked down here once, wicked away, wicked into it again this week, and wicked away. So volume is staying above this inverted fair value gap. Let me mark that out as inverted fair value gap. And it's inverted because we traded on the downside and then on the upside. So it was a bearish fair value gap, and then we traded through it, making it a bullish fair value gap. And these two candles on the weekly are respecting the bullish nature of it because we haven't actually closed within it, and you can see our price has wicked away from it twice. So if price, again, if it stays above this fair value gap and doesn't trade lower than this swing low, bear with me. So if price doesn't trade lower than this swing low here, then I'd like to think that dollar will continue higher and start running into these highs, resting above here. You can see you've got some relative equal highs here and here. So I'm going to mark that out. High side liquidity, and then if we drop down to the daily, we can have a better look. So you can see that we aggressively traded lower, took out these lows, but we only traded to the 50% level of this bullish order block, as you can see. So the mean threshold is the 50% level of an order block, which is what I've got delineated here. And you can see as soon as we traded to that, we turned around. So it is respecting the order block. If it traded lower than that, it would be a different story, but that's not the case. You can see that we respected that, and it's likely that we're going to find, well, I'd like to see us find support on top of this red weekly fair value gap so that we can move higher. There's also this massive imbalance on the daily resting up here. I've had my eyes on this for a while now, resting above this high as well. So these are all reasons I'm expecting higher prices on dollar, which is hinting as to why I'd like to see lower prices on pound. It's just that before pound turns away like that, it would be nice to see if it can reach into this rejection block, because I'd expect it to want to offer some kind of premium, take out this swing high, because there's going to be a lot of positions up here of people thinking it's going lower now. So I wouldn't be surprised if price wicked up there, took out buy side liquidity resting above this high, and then started to move lower and into this daily fair value gap. Another possible option, or another possibility, sorry, is that price might, if price aggressively trades lower, I'll jump to the 4 hour real quick. If price aggressively trades lower on, say, Monday and absolutely disrespects this bullish order block here, then in that case, I'd expect us to start running down into this fair value gap. However, like I said, I want to see this order block provide support. I am going to mark out the mean threshold of this as well, because that should be the lowest that price reaches for us to remain bullish with this order block. And on the 4 hour, you can see it's quite an ugly order block. I think if we drop down to the 1 hour, it'll look a little bit more clear. You can see from this high to this low is our order block. So I'm going to mark that out a little more clearly and mark out the 50% off that, so that we can see where price should reach. 1.25474, so I'll mark that out. There we go. So this is the lowest I want to see price go for us to remain bullish. And when I say bullish, I mean bullish into this area and towards the rejection block I have marked out, which is also the open of the 4 hour bearish order block, if you remember me showing. We've also got a lovely fair value gap down here. This looks like a good buy. But as I said previously, there's a lot of news releases next week and a lot of volatility that's going to be happening from Tuesday onwards. So we'll have to see how price acts. I wouldn't be surprised if Monday was a quiet one, you know, consolidating, maybe hovering above this fair value gap or even trading into it. But I'm going to keep my eyes on this as a potential entry for us to take out this buy side liquidity, and then hopefully we can start to see an aggressive run lower into the daily fair value gap. But that's pretty much everything, guys. This has been GBP baby. Don't forget, I don't trade Mondays, so on Monday, which is tomorrow, I'll have a much clearer idea of price action for the week and my expectations on what I want to see. This was just a review of this week. If this is your first time watching, don't forget to hit subscribe, and also check out our Discord channel. That is in the description. But I hope you found this useful. I have got some more backtesting videos coming soon, so make sure to turn your post notifications on, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.